4 children living with albinism in Tanzania have gotten new limbs in the United States after they were attacked for their body parts. People with albinism live in danger in Tanzania, where their body parts are used in witchcraft and can fetch a high price.
Emmanuel Rutema can't keep the smile off his face as he tests his new prosthetic arm. Rutema is one of 4 Tanzanian children with albinism visiting the United States to get prosthetic limbs to replace those hacked off in brutal superstition-driven attacks in their East African homeland. At Shriners Hospital for Children in Philadelphia recently, 3 of them got new limbs that will help them do everyday tasks most people take for granted. Rutema, the oldest at 15, speaks with difficulty. His attackers chopped off one arm and the fingers of the other hand and tried to pull out his tongue and teeth. Also getting prosthetics are 7-year-old Baraka Lusambo and 14-year-old Mwigulu Mageza, each of whom lost parts of their arms in attacks.
So the first time the Tanzania kids came in, there was not a lot of conversation. They were extremely shy. They kind of huddled together as in a pack, and they were scared. You know, they traveled around the globe to come see us, and they weren't used to us, and we weren't used to them. And there were a lot of awkward moments, right? And then as they got to know us and they started to open up to me and to the staff and to the therapists, and now when they come in, you can see it looks like they're home.
People with albinism live in danger in Tanzania, where their body parts are used in witchcraft and can fetch a high price. Superstition leads many to believe they are ghosts and bad luck. Albinism is a congenital disorder affecting about 1 in 20,000 people worldwide who lack pigment in their skin, hair and eyes, but it is more common in sub-Saharan Africa and affects about 1 Tanzanian in 1,400. The children here are getting treatment in the United States with support from Global Medical Relief Fund, a New York-based charity that hosts children from around the world who have been injured in conflict or disaster. For them, this is the second trip to the United States for prosthetics, and they leave next week. They first came here 2 years ago, and they have returned for larger limbs because they have grown.
When they first came, I think it was a matter of trust, you know, and for them to warm up and feel comfortable with you. And that was towards the end of the last trip. And now, of course, this time they're much more open.
United Nations officials estimate at least 75 albinos were killed in the East African nation between the year 2000 and 2015, but fear the number of reported attacks represent just a fraction of the total, as most are secretive rituals in rural areas.
Meanwhile, the International Bar Association's Human Rights Institute, IBARI, says sub-Saharan African nations are failing to protect people with albinism. In the last decade, there have been more than 600 reported cases of killings or mutilations of persons with albinism across 28 countries in Africa. Under international law, countries have a legal obligation to protect persons with it from human rights violations, attacks and discrimination. But a new report by IBARI concludes that current approaches to albinism have fallen short of this obligation, and persons with the condition continue to be victims of human rights abuses. Let's get more on this story. An albinism ambassador, Mr. Jake Apele, joins us live from London. You're welcome to the program.
Good evening, and good evening, Nigerians.
Yeah, good evening to you. What more can you tell us about the report by IBARI being launched in London today?
In a couple of hours, exactly at 5:30, I think we're still on the same time belt.
Certainly.
With Nigeria. This report will be presented to the world. It's a total documentation of the discrimination, the stigmatization, the findings of an independent body like the International Bar Association. The International Bar Association a couple of months ago put together a committee called Albinism Task Force, and by the grace of God, I was selected. We're a 9-member committee. I was selected as the chairman of that committee. And this evening at Chatham House, I will be in company with the independent expert on albinism and the executive members of the International Bar Association. We will be presenting the report not only to the United Nations but to the entire world. It's a milestone report. It's the first time that a body like the International Bar Association is coming together to look into the claims by many of us over the years of discrimination, stigmatization, lack of care, underserved, circumstances that we go through. So for the first time, I see the international body like the Bar Association coming together to present to the world the true picture of the suffering, the untold hardship, the inhuman treatment that persons with albinism have been going through for years, right from creation. And these issues cuts across the globe. It's not only in Africa, it is also here in England, in America, in Asia, in the Middle East, every part of the globe. Persons with albinism have suffered one form of discrimination or the other. And so this is an opportunity to tell the world that these claims are true.
How can sub-Saharan African nations better protect people living with albinism from human rights abuses?
Well, the AU has to take this very serious. I want to also appreciate them for the resolution that they have taken, recent resolution approving the action document that we prepared at the United Nations level for member states to implement. But they need to go a step further. There has to be a strategic action. There has to be the enlistment of member states, state actors, to get involved. Albinism have not received an endorsement of the UN system as a social development issue. I think it's high time that should happen. But then a lot of countries need to borrow a lead from Nigeria. We've had the albinism policy. We have the free treatment of persons with albinism, which keeps on going back and forth. I got a report from my office this morning, a very, very disheartening report that somebody went to National Hospital again, and that fellow was turned back. Well, I don't want to take that as the reality on ground, because I had a meeting with the health minister, and he assured me that the treatment will continue. I've had meetings with all the CMDs in Nigeria, and collectively they assured me that that treatment will continue, and we're going to decentralize that treatment. So nobody should endanger what the whole world is applauding as a very good step for Nigeria. So member nation has to get serious and take proactive action instead of this reactive action that we take. Every time something happens, the security forces will run around, development partners will run around. We need a strategic, consistent plan, response plan that will address the issues to the roots.
Right, thank you so much for your thoughts on that, Jacob Pelle, talking to us live from London.